Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something real tonight. Every now and then, a man meets a woman who shifts his whole world. I'm not talking about looks, not talking about style, not even talking about what she brings to the table financially. I'm talking about spirit. I'm talking about presence. I'm talking about that unshakable kind of woman who walks into a man's life and makes him realize, Lord have mercy, this one right here. I can't play with her. I can't lose her. I can't replace her because she ain't like the rest. Every woman carries a unique power shaped by her self-respect, strength, and emotional intelligence, and this power is not something she has to announce or prove. It's something that naturally radiates from her presence, her decisions, and the way she carries herself through the world. A woman's true power doesn't come from how loud she is, how much she demands, or how much attention she can gather. It comes from her internal foundation, the quiet confidence she has built over time, the self-respect she refuses to compromise, and the emotional intelligence that allows her to navigate life with grace and resilience. This kind of power isn't taught overnight. It is shaped by experiences, heartbreaks, healing, and lessons learned through moments where she had no choice but to rise above what tried to break her. When a woman understands her worth, she doesn't settle for anything that undermines it. She doesn't stay where she is undervalued, and she doesn't chase after people who are unsure about her. Her strength is not rooted in aggression, but in certainty. She knows who she is, what she offers, and what she deserves. And that alone separates her from the rest. This unique power becomes even more visible in the way she handles her emotions. Emotional intelligence is one of the most valuable traits a woman can possess, and it becomes a defining element of her identity. She knows how to express her feelings without letting them control her. She understands her triggers, her boundaries, and her values. She doesn't use her emotions as weapons, nor does she suppress them to appear strong. Instead, she communicates with clarity and listens with intention. This rare balance makes her stand out because it allows her to connect with others deeply while protecting her own well-being. She responds, she doesn't react. She thinks before she speaks. She chooses peace over drama, growth over comfort, and honesty over convenience. A woman like this doesn't need to raise her voice to be heard. Her energy speaks long before she does. Strength for her is not about winning battles. It's about knowing which battles are worth fighting. It's about walking away from situations that steal her joy, drain her spirit, or compromise her standards. She understands that not everything deserves her time, and not everyone deserves access to her heart. This discernment is what makes her rare. She is gentle but firm, kind but not weak, giving but not foolish. She believes in love, but she doesn't abandon herself in the process of loving someone else. Every decision she makes stems from a place of self-awareness and self-love, and that makes her unforgettable. A woman who has built her power from self-respect, strength, and emotional intelligence becomes the kind of woman a man cannot replace because what she carries cannot be duplicated. Her presence inspires, Her stability comforts, and her wisdom strengthens everyone around her. This is the kind of woman who leaves a permanent mark, not because she tried to, but because she lived in the fullness of who she truly is. A man recognizes a rare woman through the consistency of her character, not her appearance, and this truth becomes clearer the older he gets and the more life teaches him. Looks might attract him, but character is what holds his attention. In a world where people change their personalities depending on who's watching, a woman who remains true to who she is becomes unforgettable. Her consistency becomes her signature. She doesn't pretend to be someone she's not just to impress him. She doesn't mold herself to fit his expectations. She stands firm in her identity, and that steadiness becomes something he respects deeply. A man may meet many women, each with their own charm and beauty, but the one whose actions match her words leaves an imprint on him that cannot be erased. Her loyalty is not conditional, her integrity is not negotiable, and her values don't shift depending on the situation. This consistently strong character makes him feel like he can trust her, count on her, and lean on her when life becomes overwhelming. This kind of woman doesn't need to announce that she is different. Her behavior shows it over time. When she says she cares, she shows it through her actions. When she makes promises, she keeps them. When she commits to something, she follows through. She doesn't manipulate. She doesn't deceive, and she doesn't play emotional games. She knows that real connection is built on honesty and clarity. Her emotional stability creates a safe space for him, something he may not have experienced before. She doesn't add chaos to his life, she removes it. She doesn't confuse him, she brings him clarity. This level of emotional maturity is rare, and a man who recognizes it understands quickly that it's not something he can easily find again. What makes her even more extraordinary is that she stays consistent whether life is going well or falling apart. She doesn't change her attitude based on convenience. She remains kind even in conflict, balanced even in stress, and understanding even when she disagrees. She doesn't use anger as a weapon or silence as punishment. She communicates with intention, listens with empathy, and responds with thoughtfulness. A man notices this. He pays attention to how she handles difficulty because that is where true character reveals itself. When he sees that she maintains her integrity even when life tests her, he realizes she is the kind of woman who can walk beside him through both storms and sunshine. A woman like this becomes irreplaceable because her character is not something that can be copied or imitated. Anyone can look appealing, but not everyone can remain dependable. Anyone can create excitement, but not everyone can create stability. Anyone can say the right words, but not everyone can live them. This woman becomes a mirror showing him what kind of man he could become if he chooses the right path. She doesn't push him to grow. She inspires him simply by being herself. Her consistency becomes his anchor, and once a man experiences that kind of grounding presence, he knows he can search the world and still never find another woman like her. A woman who knows her worth refuses to compete because she understands that true value doesn't need comparison or validation. She doesn't measure herself against others, nor does she chase situations that make her feel less than she is. Her confidence comes from a deep awareness of her strengths, her heart, and her intention. She knows she has a unique presence that cannot be duplicated, so she doesn't waste her energy trying to prove what she already knows. When a woman reaches this level of self-awareness, her life becomes a reflection of her boundaries. She no longer fights for a place in someone's life. She allows her presence to naturally determine who belongs and who doesn't. She has learned that love is never about outdoing another woman or fighting for attention. Love is about being valued, chosen, and respected without having to lose herself in the process. She also understands that competing for a man's attention means accepting crumbs instead of the whole meal. It means lowering her worth to match someone else's indecision, and she simply won't do that. This is why she stands firm. She knows that if someone cannot see her valued, it's their loss, not hers. Her confidence is not arrogance, it's clarity. She has experienced enough to know that love built on competition is unstable, unhealthy, and temporary. When a man cannot recognize what she carries, she doesn't argue or plead. She steps back because she knows the right man will never put her in a position where she feels replaceable or unsure. She doesn't beg for effort. She doesn't negotiate her standards, and she doesn't shrink herself to fit into someone else's limited vision. She remains whole even when others cannot appreciate her fullness. What makes her truly rare is that she is grounded in her identity, not in someone else's validation. She can walk into any room and remain herself without comparing her beauty, her achievements, or her personality to the next woman. She celebrates others without feeling threatened because she operates from abundance, not scarcity. She knows there is enough love, enough opportunity, and enough purpose for everyone. This maturity sets her apart because it shows she is guided by inner strength rather than insecurity. A man notices this quickly. He sees that she doesn't chase attention, and that alone makes her magnetic. She's not trying to prove that she is the best. She simply is her best. And that authenticity becomes irresistible. This woman embraces her uniqueness. She doesn't apologize for her standards, her ambition, or her sensitivity. She knows that the right man will meet her where she is, not ask her to come down to a lower level. She knows that her worth is not determined by how many people want her, but by how she carries herself when no one is watching. She stands tall, rooted in dignity and self-love, and this quiet confidence is what makes her unforgettable. A man who encounters a woman like this quickly realizes that she is operating on a level that cannot be competed with. She is a class of her own, and once he sees that, he knows there is absolutely no replacing her. A man can meet hundreds of women, but he remembers the one who challenged him to grow because she is the woman who didn't just fit into his life, she elevated it. She didn't show up to entertain him or to make things easy for him. She showed up with standards, expectations, and a vision of love that required him to step into a better version of himself. Most people come into our lives and leave everything the exact same. But a rare woman, a woman who knows her worth and understands her purpose, shifts the entire atmosphere when she arrives. She inspires without trying. She opens his eyes to things he never paid attention to. She pushes him gently but consistently toward who he could be, not just who he currently is. And that is the kind of impact that stays with a man long after the relationship, the moment, or even the conversation ends. This type of woman doesn't challenge him from a place of control or superiority. She challenges him from a place of love, intention, and belief in his potential. She sees the greatness he sometimes ignores. She notices the patterns he tries to hide. She holds him accountable not because she wants perfection, but because she wants growth. For both of them, she pushes him to communicate better, to take responsibility for his actions, to show up when he says he will, and to become emotionally mature enough to handle real connection. She teaches him that love is not passive. It requires effort, honesty, consistency, and a willingness to evolve. And once a man experiences this level of emotional heightening, he cannot forget it. He may pretend he doesn't see it. He may run from it because it intimidates him. But deep down, he knows she awakened something in him that he needed all along. What makes her unforgettable is that she doesn't settle for the version of him that is convenient or comfortable. She wants the version of him that is capable, responsible, and aligned with the man he is meant to be. She doesn't nag or demand. She inspires and encourages. She doesn't tell him to be better. She shows him what better looks like through her actions, her discipline, and her emotional maturity. She becomes the mirror that reflects his strengths and exposes his weaknesses, not to embarrass him, but to help him grow. She doesn't let him get away with things that harm the relationship or neglect his own development. She stands firm because she wants a love that is deep, stable, and meaningful. And once a man experiences that, he cannot unfeel it. He cannot undo the growth she sparked inside him. Even if he walks away or chooses a simpler path, he knows something is missing. He knows he left behind the woman who made him want to be a better man. That awareness stays with him. It echoes in every choice he makes, every relationship he enters, and every moment he reflects on what he truly wants. Because the truth is simple. A woman who challenges a man to grow becomes irreplaceable, not because she was perfect, but because she awakened a version of him that no one else ever did. Unforgettable women hold boundaries, standards, and a heart that loves deeply but wisely. And this combination is what makes them stand out in a world where many people love without limits, but have no limits to protect themselves. A woman with boundaries is not cold, and she is not difficult. She is simply aware that love without self-respect eventually turns into self-destruction. She has learned through experience that giving too much to the wrong people can leave her empty, and she refuses to repeat that cycle. She knows her heart is powerful, nurturing, and capable of lifting a man higher than he ever imagined, but she also understands that this power must be guarded. She doesn't let just anyone have access to her emotions, her time, or her attention. She allows people